Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. My guest today, Bundeep Rangar, President and CEO of Fineqia International Incorporated. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks so much, Rocco, for having me. Glad to be here.
So the first thing I pulled up this morning was a tweet from you guys. As we're recording, it was the 3rd of February. It said, Canada must establish a strategic digital asset reserve before it's too late. Governments worldwide are stockpiling Bitcoin for monetary resilience, economic competitiveness, and financial sovereignty. Canada risks falling behind. Will we lead or lag? That is such, and I thought, wow, that is such a loaded tweet. Let's start to unpack it a bit. First of all, what is the situation for the Canadian government? Because obviously that's true. You've got Trudeau outgoing. Are the people coming in more pro crypto, or what's going on?
Yeah, so I think it'll really depend on the next government that's formed, right? So at this point in time, it seems like the Conservative Party is the likely winner. The party leader, Pierre Poilievre, is likely to be pro-crypto. In the past, he's, I believe, even purchased a hamburger or something, or a pizza using, I think it was a hamburger, using Bitcoin as a kind of statement to say that this is a medium of exchange of value and for transactions. And currently, I think if you look at the Canadian, kind of disposition, we need to diversify the economy away from the US, just given all the kind of charades that are going on there. And for that, a lot of the investment will be required in the energy sector, right? Canada is the 4th largest producer of oil in the world, but most people don't know it.
Yes.
And the vast majority of it goes to the US at a discount. So if you want to open up global markets and building up refineries and pipelines, not just exporting crude, but actually refined products, means there's a lot of capital investment. And for capital investment, these days, the advent of tokenization to allow for international capital to pour in via a tokenized structure is the most efficient way to do it. And it's actually kind of future-proofing the way things are done. So I think a Canadian embrace of tokenization for financing its export-oriented infrastructure is one path to go. And then second, allowing for Canadians at an individual level and then for Canada at a sovereign level to have some digital asset reserve as a counter-inflationary hedge, as a means to not be subject to accumulated debt that's there on the Canadian balance sheet and the debt service ratios. And just diversification, and ideally in a tax optimized way, would make a lot of sense. Now, can they do it? Can the leadership pull that off? Is a question of time. But strategically, having a reserve that's uncorrelated to the fiat economy, and that's something that plows into what the US is looking to do, what El Salvador's done, makes a lot of sense to me.
I was about to ask you, is there any model currently that you would look to follow that you can say, oh, I like what they did? And obviously, all countries are different and it's not plug and play. But still, is there something out there where that we can look at and say, oh, I like what they did, we should look at that model?
Yeah, it's still early in that sense, but if you look at the national strategic reserves, the US and the UK are like amongst the top 5. Canada is not there. We certainly don't want to make the move, let's say Germany did last year when they sold a lot of Bitcoin.
Yes.
So, you don't want to go down the path of saying, no, we don't want to own this. That's a wrong move. But keeping it there, now the question is it Bitcoin only? Is it a basket of currencies? In the US, of course, there's an imperative to bring crypto protocols and foundations back to the US. So they're favoring a basket rather than just Bitcoin of other coins that are US domicile friendly. So there's a political angle there. I don't think Canada has that. But what Canada has, if you look at it, is we've had a whole bunch of people who are very involved with the digital asset world that are from Canada. Some of the founders of Ethereum, for example, are Canadian, whether it's Vitalik or Anthony Delorio. There's a big Canadian contingent in Ethereum, and some of the other protocols that have sort of offshoots have Canadian heritage. So unfortunately, we haven't capitalized on that. We haven't made it a safe haven for sandbox-like regimes that allow for innovation, that allow for propagation, and where regulation is clear and not regulation through enforcement or just kind of following the US.
Yeah.
Canada took an early lead with ETFs. If you remember, actually,
Yes,
Canadians
yes.
were the
Yes, I
first to
remember.
embrace the ETFs for Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yes.
And you would have expected them to then say, hey, let's do other coins, whether it's Solana or Cardano or Polkadot. But they didn't. They kind of just like went on ice for other ETNs, and the US then caught up. So if Canada has to be a place for innovation, it really has to go ahead and be ahead of the curve and not lagging it. And the same thing would apply to a strategic reserve. We shouldn't wait and then look at a copycat. We should just be innovative and come up with our own basket.
Yeah. So you mentioned Cardano, and you guys really launched the world's first DeFi yield Cardano ETN quite recently. I think it was in January. How's that going for you guys?
Now, it's went phenomenally well. I mean, it tapped into demand. Again, there's a demand for holding digital assets beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
So Cardano top 10 coin, it's worth at least about, in Canadian dollar terms, 50 billion, about 35 billion US. It's got a wide circulation. Charles Hoskinson is one of the early pioneers in the industry. He was a co-founder of Ethereum and, of course, founder of Cardano, has a big loyal following. So it made sense. Now, the question was also, can we do something that's different from just buying and holding the underlying asset?
Yes.
And if you look at the assets, they can get yield, right? They can be deployed in staking pools. They can be deployed on decentralized finance protocols to generate yield. So we went out with the first ETP, which is basically a collection of ETFs and ETNs in the world that can deploy the assets on DeFi for generating yield. And that has gone phenomenally well. It's listed on the Vienna Stock Exchange. It goes by the ticker called YADA, which is yield for ADA, ADA being the Cardano token name.
Mm-hmm.
And we have about $45 million Canadian, just over 30 million US in assets under management. So that's a pretty good sign of interest from the market.
Yeah, Elon also spoke about creating a blockchain for the work that they're doing in Doge in terms of transparency, not creating a blockchain, but putting those transactions on blockchain. And I know Cardano has been floated as sort of the blockchain of choice because of its relatively stable, cheap, 100% uptime. Has that been your experience as well with him?
Yeah, I mean, Cardano is a great network for that purpose. It's very robust. Its transaction fees are very respectable, and there's no latency there. So, and there's a new protocol they're developing called Midnight, which will be out later this year, more of a side chain rather than a protocol per se. But it's the one that will also embed things like privacy in there, so it makes it easier to adhere to compliance and for TradFi adoption of crypto. So we're excited about that, and that's coming soon. I think the whole sort of basis of transparency is inherent in the blockchain. The fact that it's permissionless and trustless makes it, very suitable for example, government payments. And
it's a no-brainer for me. Yeah,
absolutely. You can just have direct payments and cut out layers of either bureaucracy or layers of payment rails that are not needed. So it's a lot more efficient. And I expect, the US to be making some changes in that regard. For my part, did an art auction during COVID. It turned out to be the world's largest online art auction for COVID relief. We raised money for 7 charities.
Wow.
With 2 pieces of art. It was called Art & Co, artandco.net.
Okay.
And we record every single receipt and every single payout on the blockchain. So it's 100% forever auditable trail.
Yes.
Now, if you have that kind of technology available, we should make use of that because that takes away some of the excess fat in the system, and it takes away some of the opacity or certainly translucency if you get a transparent ledger that's always accessible.
Yeah. Let's talk about a bit about technology, because when AI just sort of emerged, it's been there for a long time. It just was called different things, machine learning, neural networks, whatever. And so GPT came, OpenAI came and put a UX and a UI on this thing and launched this as a LLM. And I said at that point, AI is going to take a bit of the spotlight away from blockchain, which it did. But now we're seeing blockchain coming back into the fold, and with incorporating AI into the blockchain. How are you guys handling AI? Is it making a difference in your business? Yeah, I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are there.
Absolutely. I think there's a great convergence between the two, right? So
Mm.
I would categorize them at two levels, either the front end or the back end. So if I take the back end first, then for a portfolio manager to look at allocations, look at trend spotting, look at reconfiguring your portfolio, AI is a great tool because you can use it to spot worldwide trends. You can look at, node hash rates, node transactions, volume, velocity, and AI can come up with, beyond algorithms, sort of predictive models as to where things will go. And you can therefore have, as an investor, portfolio allocations that are helped by the deployment of AI. The
Yeah.
other side of it is, you and I are familiar with the crypto world, but it is still a clunky system, right? If you ask
Mm.
people to use their wallets or
No,
MetaMask,
absolutely.
what
Yeah.
have you, seed phrases. And what AI is doing is it's allowing for that interface to be a lot more intuitive, a lot more user-friendly, even using voice prompts rather than complex data entry, like keyboard entry style. And it then also incorporates all the multi-factor authentication. So it'll say, scan your eyes now, put your fingerprint now. So it becomes the authentication process becomes much more user-friendly. And then you can direct it and say, I want to buy this, I want to sell this, I want to hold this in this wallet or that wallet. So AI becomes an answer to one of the biggest problems in the industry so far, which is an inherent, not so friendly UX UI for
Mm.
interacting with digital assets. And I think, yeah, it really helps you solve that problem.
Awesome. Last year you did a show called Meet the Drapers. It was a startup competition, and you were on the jury panel. And I'm keen to find out sort of what emerging trends did you see then, because as you were a judge, did it play out sort of, or what else are you seeing in sort of the blockchain space?
Sure, sure. Yeah, and it was great to be invited by Tim Draper, who I've known
Mm.
for years, and he's invested in one of my other businesses in the past. When you're out there, you're looking for things that are exactly what he said, right? Future spotting, like what's
Yes.
going to be big 2 years from now. And it may be something that people don't believe, but you have to believe in it, and you have to be able to see the value of it, on the sort of ahead of the curve basis. So back then, I think things that were getting the attention were like payments, KYC modules, etc. I think where the market's going right now is a bit of that, but it's also very much on tokenization. The
Mm.
tokenization of assets. We see a lot of traditional finance, money market funds, treasury bills coming on chain. And the fact that you can have people sitting in the Philippines or Kenya buy US treasury bills rather than holding US
Amazing.
dollars, you can now hold a T-bill, which is the same counterparty, either the US government, it's the same counterparty for a treasury bill or a US dollar
Hmm.
bill. But you get the yield on top of that. You can put that into your account as a token, is hugely valuable. The advent, or rather the sort of growth of stable coins
Hmm.
is correlated to the tokenization, because every tokenization of an asset, let's say BlackRock's money market fund,
Hmm.
will need a stable coin to price it and to transact with it. So stable coin usage is growing. And I think beyond that, now we're seeing, like you said earlier, the kind of confluence of AI with the crypto world. And I think that's going to create some very interesting new apps and protocols out there.
Awesome. Amazing. Amazing time that we're living in. Bundeep, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and find out more about what you guys are doing, where can they do that?
So we're a Fineqia platform
Hmm.
on Twitter. Our website's fineqia.com. We have social media feeds on Instagram, on Twitter, as I mentioned, on Blue Sky.
All
You can
over
always,
the place. I
we're
love
there.
that.
We're
And one of the best backgrounds on the pod this far, sir. Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll put all the links in the comments. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. And we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
You break me down, rebuild me stronger. My greatest weakness, strip me of strength. I bend and you reshape me, cut through every defense, unravel what I thought I knew. Follow the line, hold the line, right here. right here.